everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And this episode is very special because we are talking about men's mental health. We are running a campaign through Save Lives Project, and this is a part of Save Lives Project and Psychology Talks. And this panel discussion is all about, we're coinciding it with Father's Day. So it's dedicated to fathers because this topic is mostly not usually discussed or talked about. A lot of people talk about mental health in general, but this particular panel is now will be talking about struggles of fathers because they always seen that they are strong and we always look up to them as fathers, like that they are the ones that we need to follow. But sometimes this expectations create kind of a condition, and they feel that they need to be strong all the time, and sharing their troubles, they don't like it, and they kind of suffer in silence. And this is the reason that we need to break that silence, and we need to talk about it, that it's okay to seek help, it's okay to be vulnerable. And I'm so glad that Preston will be hosting with me this panel, and we have this amazing people who will be sharing insights, their expert experiences about fatherhood, about their career, and about like men's mental health in general also. So thanks to all of those who joined us today, and we'll be talking about this in a while. So Preston, I would like you to share some thoughts before we start.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you, Ambreen, too, for all of your work that you're doing here to make all of this happen. There's so much that needs to come together behind the scenes when we're doing these things. And so you've been such an amazing support around this. But we started the Save Lives Project, and I'm one of the founders of the Save Lives Project. And the goal was to get people to support people, right? So we come together as experts aligned as a goal. And, I love that because I just went on a cool vacation. I went to Washington, D.C., and on the walls, you see this inscription, and on different coins and things like that, it says, E pluribus unum, and it's Latin. And that means of many, one. And so it's how do we get many people to become one, right? It's that vision, it's that goal. And so we're doing that because we're gathering like-minded people to become one, to support each other, to support humanity. And so that's what this is about.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially with men, it can feel difficult because sometimes we feel like we have to carry the weight, right? There's a lot of different beliefs, there's a lot of different stigmas, there's a lot of different societal, historical beliefs and roles that play into that. But the truth is, sometimes maybe we might feel judged, right? Or maybe some people even do judge a little bit, right? We can't deny those things, happening when someone, has some certain level of vulnerability. And so, how can we find places where it's safe not to be judged and to be able to reach out? And how can we be people who accept others for who they are and what we're going through? Because the truth is, this is all the human experience. It's all stuff that we all go through. And it
Yeah.
makes no difference. That's why we have such a diverse group on this call of experts across the world, because it doesn't matter your race or your religion or your gender or your economic situation or your geographic location. This is the human experience that we're talking about. And it's that part that goes, okay, something happens in my life and I feel it. I feel it. And it might be the pressure that you're going through. It might be stress. right? That you're going through, you're experiencing, or it might be, something that's due, a deadline, and these things that we put on ourselves as goals.
Yeah.
It can be a variety of different scenarios, real serious scenarios too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's part of that life, and it connects all of us. And so I think that's why we have all these amazing people here. So I thank everyone that's here, today.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah,
but
thank you so much. Yeah,
you're
and it's
welcome.
great that we have Eldin also. Eldin is another co-founder of Save Lives Project. So, Eldin, please first of all introduce yourself and share a bit of your thoughts on this.
Yes, well, thank you, Ambreen, for organizing this. Yeah, three of us got together, Ambreen, Preston, and I, a few years ago, and we started the Save Lives project. And yeah, we've saved many lives since we've been together, and we are going to continue with our initiative. It's self-funded at the moment for a number of years, three of us. We don't receive any donations, but we will not refuse donations of time and money. Yes, so this is a very important topic to us. That's why we put Save Lives project together to actually save lives. And mental health, the month of June, it's crucial for raising awareness, but then also to change the stigma of the societal programming that men shouldn't cry, men shouldn't express emotions. Of course, dear father, are you okay? But men in general, and statistics of how many people commit suicide annually is just shocking, and close to 80% is men aged 15 to 45. And for the reason that men don't talk about it, men don't share, and it's not a common thing. And even men who actually are into meditation, into breath work, into keeping fit, and on the outside they look like they always got it together, even those men struggle. So it's making actually a change in the society to make it acceptable that men should be free to share how they are feeling, should be asking for help amongst other men as well as the community, and sharing freely that actually being vulnerable is your strength.
Yes, yes, that's very true, and that's the reason why we all get together and we started this movement. So thank you so much, Eldon, for sharing this. Let's before we start our discussion, let's have a brief introduction of each of our panelists because they are amazing people doing amazing work in their fields and in their industries. So right next to me is Kevin. So I will start from Kevin. Please. Let our audience know about you.
Well, hello, everyone. Well, by day, I'm the founder of Smith Wealth Advisory Group, but in every other waking hour, I'm the founder of Kindness Worldwide, which has a vision to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. And it was all inspired by a single act of kindness on Good Friday morning, 2023.
Yeah, and you're doing amazing work. Thank you so much. Hawk, please let our audience know about you.
Yeah, thank you, Ambreen. I wear many hats. I've worked in social work since I was 17 in some of the most challenging institutions in Norway. I'm a musician, coach, therapist, and one of the things I worked with quite a bit is people who are suicidal or are in danger of becoming suicidal. That has sort of been a recurring theme in my life, and to be honest, I've also struggled with the same myself. So I know it from both the professional side and the personal side. And I'm a monk, but I do have 3 kids and 2 grandkids. So I do know a little bit about being a dad as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us here. being here with us. And Courtney is next. She is another new addition of Save Lives project. She is helping me a lot in creating these campaigns. She's like conducting a lot of interviews and doing a lot of work. So thank you so much, Courtney. But please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Ambreen. Once again, I'm Courtney Beck. I'm an adjunct professor at Florida State University, specifically within sport management. And I am also the founder of Plenty of Positivity. And we just focus on building a positive community for a better tomorrow. So we have a podcast that focuses on just talking about those life lessons, sport experiences, and career experiences. Also promoting continued learning through a book club, and then also extending Plenty of Positivity to work in collaboration, which you had mentioned, Ambreen. Truly honored to be part of Save Lives Project. And I'm just so grateful that you all are putting on this particular session, because this is certainly a topic of discussion that deserves so much more attention that it gets. So truly honored to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Des is also one of very old contacts, and he's also doing amazing work. So Des, please introduce yourself. So,
well, Ambreen, less of the old, okay? No old contacts. I've known many of these people for years, the exceptional bunch of people. Me personally, I've done many tours of duty. I've 9 times CEO of some of the world's largest companies, some of the world's smallest companies. I've served on 20 plus boards, so I've done a lot of tour of duty there. Currently, I'm the founder of Hague Enterprises. We focus on private equity, selling, buying companies, investing in companies, helping companies grow and reach their potential. And also just recently launched the Thinking Academy, which I want to hope is a global movement, which I hope will play a role in what we're talking about today. If you lift others up, they're going to be mentally better prepared for the future as well. So I think a lot of the things that we do and we've talked about on this call, there's vectors, they coincide. And, I like to think they become force multipliers of giving everybody a better future and helping people get a better future. I wish there was a manual that we could just read on all of these topics, but there's not. And I think what this group and others will do is help amplify the message. It's okay to be vulnerable. And I don't want to I've just jumped into the conversation. So enough said. I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much. It is really an honor to have you with us. And Bill is also an amazing person. So thank you so much for being here. But please tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great. I'm with Des. I want to get into the subject because when I think about fatherhood and all these different things, I mean, it's affected by what we see. It's affected by what media does. And I'm excited about getting on with this group because we are a force that can influence the next generation and influence others to help them look at fatherhood and manhood and all the things, both the myth and the wonder and the opportunities. But the reason I talk about media is I grew up in television. I'm the president of Spirit Media. I produce television media. I do it for investment organizations, for nonprofit organizations, and we produce a lot of live event experiences. I'm here and I was changed because I died. And when I did, I came back, and I know that relationships are one of the single most powerful things we have in this world. And relationship with ourself, the divine. And if we're fathers with our kids, the influence we have is profound. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm privileged that I took a breath to be with you here today.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor. Patrick, an old friend, an old connection. Thank you so much for being here. So please tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. I'm a duopreneur with my partner, and we have a business space that's called Sonqo's Worlds, which means the worlds of the heart. So we are very much into that whole, how do we actually live in a new earth? How do we evolve? How do we awaken? And one of the key aspects is obviously consciousness. So through consciousness architecture, giving all us of tools to create a new consciousness that we can live and access a consciousness that is not anymore singular. We are accessing these parts of the fathers and the men and everyone who is kind of hidden, who doesn't speak, the hidden sides. And so our main role is actually to be a bridge to self into new earth, a bridge of awakening. And so mental health has a lot to do with awakening, because mental health can shake us up. And from my own experience, and at that time I was in a relationship where I was the second father to 3 children. So I don't have children of my own, but I've been the second father in 2 occasions. And when I feel what broke me in a way, and this is fatherhood and men at the same time, when the fear of life for men gets bigger than the fear of death, then we make these decisions. And as Eldin was saying, it's a horrible amount of men who choose to exit. And I feel it has a lot to do with fear. Men don't cry, men don't have fear. But as Preston says as well, for us to understand, by the way, also the Jamaican general idea, out of many one, meaning we are all different, but we are all one, it is not easy for us to understand. And I feel the separation and the dramas have separated us. And so I feel as men, we are becoming new men at this time, as we're going through the end of so many cycles and actually into new consciousness. So I'm so happy to be here in this panel in particular, and in general, of course, with Save Lives, because it's one of the most important things that we can truly do, to relate. And this is also what Bill is saying. I think most of the important thing is that we learn to relate again, that interconnectedness with self, with others, with nature, the cosmos, with this earth, as it all goes through a change. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Paul. Paul is also one of the amazing human being and a very great person. So thank you so much, Paul, for being here. And would you please tell us about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Paul Gunn. I'm the founder of Co-op Corporation, and we support our military. So I'm just looking forward to having this conversation, as everyone said, so we can help further along what your foundation is doing to save lives.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're so humble in your introduction. He's also a best-selling author, and he's also doing a lot of great work, which he didn't actually mention, but he's doing a lot of great work behind the scenes. So anyways, I'm so honored to be surrounded by all these amazing experts to have this conversation. So formally, we should start the conversation, and it's as we say that the title is Dear Dad, Are You Okay? And as I shared my post yesterday, that Father's Day is a very a touchy topic. It arises a lot of emotions in me, because I lost my dad 10 years ago, and I've seen his struggles also, because when he actually lost the job, he had this pressure, like he had the financial burden, he had the pressure that he had to provide this comfort and provide the resources to the family, and he has lots of struggle. I've seen this, and I could feel that what he had gone through. But again, as I see around, a lot of men also go through the same struggles. So let's talk about it. That what are the main struggles which actually they go through, but they often go unnoticed? Yeah, Bill.
Well, I'll start with the obvious one. And for me, and what I experience with other guys, is that when you talk about being a dad or being a father, most of us don't feel that qualified. It's one thing to generate offspring, but it's another thing to actually be a father. And we gather being a father through what our fathers or family taught us, what we see culturally, and maybe we read a book, or we went to a class, or went to a seminar and think, man, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. And at best, maybe I didn't poke my daughter as much when I was changing her diaper, but she got a lot of poking from me from other painful incidents that was a product of my ignorance, of me learning on the job. And there's a period that goes on that you fake it for a while, but deep down it hurts when you realize that this is maybe the most important thing I will do with my life. And I am less prepared for this than I am for my career and so many other things in life. So that gap is something that I think a lot of fathers carry and have to learn and manage throughout their entire life, because fatherhood doesn't stop when they're 3 or 4 or 5. It just keeps going.
Absolutely.
I love what you brought up too, Bill, because there's another question of depth to that, and the question is, what did they learn, right? What did you learn, right? It's not even like, am I prepared enough? But like, when you get in the moment and it's that scenario that you didn't prepare for, or it's a curveball you didn't want to happen and you're trying to avoid, and you don't really actually have the tools, right? To what default tool set do you fall back to? And a lot of that is generational, I believe. It's things that we've learned, things that we've seen, things that we've experienced. And maybe we experienced something, we said, I'm never going to do that again. And maybe we experienced something and then now we do that, right? It goes both ways, too. And so it's like, how do we correct that in the best way to support ourselves and the people around us? But it's a great topic that you brought up. I love that.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to share thoughts on that?
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sorry. Yeah.
Patrick, go ahead.
thank you. Yeah, for me, I'm kind of not the physical dad, but I showed up in families twice as a dad. And I took the role also completely into the unknown with children who were already between 1 and 14. And I totally understand what Bill, what you're saying, you're so unprepared. And the other thing is, in both cases, the children came from situations where the father had left both times. So you come in, you cannot replace the father, but yet you have to be that male role in the family to be of value and of service to these children. So you play a father's role without replacing the father. And I feel that is similar to what you're saying, Bill. It's like, how am I doing this right? How does that work? And like Preston, I was very conscious of my experiences with my father that I surely didn't want to repeat. And I didn't. Fortunately, I had that consciousness. But still, there's so much unknown, because it's like you don't know how children react to certain things. You don't know how they take certain things. And I feel we also don't understand what damage we can do as father. What do children expect? I mean, we were all once children and boys in our case, and we had certain expectations of our fathers. And while we all had great fathers because we chose exactly what we needed, it was sometimes difficult. And I feel this pressure is difficult to be a father. What do the children expect? How can I be that guide? How can I be that male figure that allows them to heal maybe a distorted male idea for both girls and for boys? So yeah, I think that can cause a lot of friction, conflict within, and fear.
Absolutely.
I feel, man, we don't talk enough about fear. We too have fear.
Yeah.
And we want to be the heroes, right? This is how we've been brought up. And maybe we are not. And it doesn't take a hero to be a good father.
Yeah. I think, Paul, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was going to follow on what Bill was saying. So from a personal experience for me is what happens when you don't know and you have to challenge the medical field, for instance. All right, you have your spouse, you have your parents, you have the things you know, and then you have an innate gut feeling that goes against everything and everyone around you. And for an example, having to go and stand and challenge the medical professionals about a situation with our son, and then you're quietly having to say, am I doing the right thing? And what's going on? Because everyone around you essentially is telling you that's not the right path. You don't know. You haven't proven yourself. So not that they were negative, it's just they're voicing their concern. And then later to find out you quietly hold that in. And then when you go out and you re-get the confirmation from a doctor or somebody who does listen and say, hey, can you explain how you got to that point? And now you have kind of a confidence because somebody has just stopped and said, let me hear why, instead of the immediate reaction of just challenging the fact, traditionally, you're not the person who should be saying this, but it shouldn't matter. I'm bringing something to you that's affecting the offspring, and I want to hear somebody help. So I didn't know the people around wanted to give previous information. And in my gut, I'm saying, no, something is not right. You need to hear it. But you quietly deal with that for a long time until you get someone who lends that lending air. So if men respond differently about challenges, maybe the path towards bringing them to speak needs to be a little different than other people. If that's the case, you recognize differences, then address those differences.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great comment, and I love leaning into our differences too, because I do think that we're trying to blur that too much sometimes, and sometimes that's the beauty of life is our differences. But I think Eldin had something
Yes.
you wanted to add there.
I'd like to tell you guys a story of mine. I'm a father of two boys. One is 3.5, almost 4, and my firstborn, he's 26. So, in particular, the 26-year-old boy, like most men of my generation, I was learning how to be a father from my father, and those were completely different times. And my father was born in 1940, so Second World War, sort of post Second World War era. It was a different mindset, different mentality. So the way my father raised me, it took me 20 years to actually change and rewire my brain of those old programming, so then I can contribute positively to my eldest child. And what happened, the first part of his life, probably until he was a teenager, I was like my dad. I was like authority. I'm gonna fix everything for you. You have to listen to me. And actually that was affecting his mental health. And only when I realized that, once actually he was 16, he said to me, Dad, I don't want you to coach me. I just want you to be my dad. Can you please just for 2 seconds be my father? And that hit me really hard. So I started crying in front of my 16-year-old boy. And then I said, I make you a promise. Only when you tell me the words, Daddy, I need your advice, I need your help, this is the time I will actually come and offer you my coaching, my counseling, my advice. Other than that, I think what you are saying, you need me just to be a good listener, to be there for you. So I create a safe space for you to feel vulnerable, because you feel like you don't have anybody, plus the hormones and girls and, all those friends and things, that young adults go through, right? The normal life. And when I changed that, at first he was a bit skeptical, like, oh, is he gonna lash at me like he used to? Or so he was a bit walking on eggshells. Only after about 6-12 months, he started to open up more. And now I must say, age 26, we have a most amazing relationship. And I can just actually read what he said to me for Father's Day yesterday and today. And he was like, basically I read and I just go and I just tear up and I just cry like a baby. And he said, I love you so much, Daddy. you know it already, but you're the best father in the world, being there for me all the time. I am forever grateful. I am the man I am today because of you. And, I pinch myself every day and I said to him, look, you are my biggest and most important accomplishment in my life. It doesn't have a monetary value. So if I can see a healthy adult now, because I changed the way I communicated with him. I changed the way my relationship was with him. And this is why he's thriving now in life, where he actually had a lot of mental health issues because his mother and I, we divorced when my eldest was 10 years of age. So that had, and I had to get out of the house because the court awarded my home to his mother. And I almost went bankrupt. So even seeing me suffering, that affected him. So, I'm so glad that I changed the way I am in order to be a better father and a better human being.
Yeah. Your story is quite much relate to a lot of people that who have been following their father or following the generational techniques, right? That they have been taught to, they've been parented to, and they don't realize that what was wrong and what is right. But I'm so glad that you actually realize that how to break that generational curse, I would say, and then be a good parent. Anyone else would like to actually share the thoughts, maybe like Kevin or Des or Hawk or Courtney, those who haven't contributed yet?
Yeah, I'd
Yes,
be happy
Kevin.
to share a few words. Now, first off, I'm not a father. I am a doggy dad, if that counts. But I do consider myself a father figure to many. The word hero came up earlier. And I think when we think of heroes, especially as we apply that word to men in general and some of the societal stereotypes, we typically think of those who, run towards danger and save the day. But I think a hero is also someone who answers no to the question, are you okay? And, as men, I think that's often very hard for us to do. But there was a timely article actually just this morning that I'll share a little bit of an excerpt from it that I think resonates broadly to the topic of today. And the article is about police officers. And there was a tragedy in my home community of York, Pennsylvania a few months ago. There was a hostage situation at a local hospital. A police officer was shot and killed. Many first responders and police, came to save the day, so to speak, and saved many lives. Unfortunately, they lost one. And so we think of the heroes of that day, but we also, there was a story this morning about police officers who actually sought counseling and therapy afterwards that are still dealing with the aftermath that we often overlook and ignore. And in the article, it mentions that the average individual over their lifetime experiences 2 to 4 serious traumas. That's the average individual, 2 to 4. For a police officer, that's 200. I mean, it's hard to fathom that, but I just want to share with you just a brief excerpt from the article. And I think this, again, resonates to just everyone, men in general, not just police officers. But it says police officers need more support for their mental well-being because police officers' brains are the most important tool they possess. Their mental health should be taken as seriously as firearms training. And, oops, I just lost my spot. Should be taken as seriously as firearms training. And let me find it here. Figures my computer would time out on me at that key moment. Here it is. Police officers' brains are the most important tool they possess. Their mental health should be taken as seriously as firearms training or any other life-saving measures. Despite the darkness they faced, these officers embody a powerful kind of strength, one grounded not in stoicism, but in vulnerability, compassion, and their willingness to seek healing. Their courage doesn't end at the scene. It continues in therapy rooms, school hallways, and quiet hospital parking lots. In choosing to confront their pain rather than bury it, they model a new kind of heroism that prioritizes mental resilience and opens the door for others to do the same. And I think, the courage of these officers to, go on record and be interviewed for this story I think that's something we need more of amongst all of us as leaders, as role models, as father figures or fathers, to lead by our own example and to talk about the courage to say no to the answer, "Are you okay?" and the strength to seek help, seek counseling where needed, because sometimes we want to show outer strength, but it's that inner softness that often that vulnerability that we all possess that sometimes for some reason we're ashamed to acknowledge. But it really is a strength. So I think heroism in the strength is actually in acknowledging, hey, I do need some help. I need to talk. Can you help me? And I think that was just an example of that I think speaks to the broader issue that we're addressing today.
Yeah, great insight so far. I mean, I'd just like to add to the conversation. I think first and foremost, it's very important to recognize that, we're talking about mental health of a dad. But you can't really separate the dad from the human or the person or society. And my view is you've got to be right for yourself. There's a challenge on mental illness, period. And you compound that by adding on, now you're a dad. So it's, if you think about it, society's 20 to 50% are self-diagnosing as having some kind of mental health issue. It's a huge number. It's going to raise when you're a dad. So I think the best thing you can do if you're a dad, I always like outcomes. How do we get better? Lifting others up. I loved your story, by the way, Eldin, about your son. And I always ask, do you want to be heard, helped, or held? Don't want to, because I can jump to all three. But he's asking, isn't he? It's getting that, confirmation. What are you wanting when you come to a problem for me? If you come to me in business, it's usually I'm going to give you some advice. But if it's my son, my elder son, my younger son, or anybody in between, it's going to be, okay, what role am I playing here? And it's important that you understand your role so you can best support for their mental health as well as your own. So I come back to, first of all, saying, if you're not right yourself, you can't help others. It's like in leadership. We talk around those silent moments. It's doing the right thing when nobody watches you that are the most important for me. In my life, I wish that many people could buy a spine from Amazon, have some courage, the right thing, lift others up, be a force for good. So I come back to be the best dad, you got to be your best self first, and then you can be your best dad. Now, I also have got a different position as well. In my humble opinion, I'm a stepfather and a father. My stepson is my son. Universally feel the same about him, same kind of responsibilities and ownership and love. And I would say that from that, for me personally, and I hope this is for every dad, it's the most important role you're ever going to have. You bring in, you love your wife, you love your spouse, you love your significant other. I get that. And that's the same. I've been married for 30 years, but this is a new life that you are responsible for, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. It's not like going into the store and buying a pair of Nikes. So there's also got to be some responsibility, and that I don't mean to go all heavy on you here. I'm not going back 1940s where somebody was talking about their father from the Eldin again, your father in the 40s, but it's a beautiful responsibility, and there's no manual. We know that, but it's about, are you there? Are you being there? And you think about the number and the percentage married out of wedlock or not in the home. That central unit is so pivotal to that person's future success trajectory. So I think when I say, that's great if you've decided that you're not married, but do you eat together? If you don't eat together, you don't talk together, you're not making time. So it's about, I look at it, it's all about, harmony. There's not such thing as work-life balance. It's how do I get harmony in my life? If I eat with my kids, I'm likely to be asking them about, how's your day? What did you learn? How could, what fun did you have? What's your aspirations for today? Do you want to be a firefighter or a superhero or a princess, whatever that is in their life in that moment? And then be an encouragement, unconditional love. I mean, I think they're the things that when I think about what got me through some of my, and we all faced adversities. but it's the unconditional love of your family and what you bring to your family. So if you haven't got good mental health, you're not bringing unconditional love to your kids. You're not in the right mind space. You're not, if you don't have a practice of your own mental health, how can you be a good dad?
Okay, sorry, I got to disagree with you here.
Okay, good.
Really, because that sets such a high standard. What is good mental health? Is it never feeling low at times? Is it always being cheerful? Is it always being here in the moment for everybody else? To me, this and it also it is further exaggerated, whatever it's called, by what I see here in Norway, where men are becoming increasingly put aside. We as dads, we are not important. We recently had a change in one of our laws, which is about what happens when a divorce happens. That then should be equal chances, or 50-50 is the best way for kids to live. But up until now, it's 80% goes to the mother. And I, having worked in child welfare, I've seen so many men who are stigmatized, they are angry, they are whatever, and there's always something wrong with the man. And that's a huge,
Hawk, I'm
huge,
trying to
huge
understand
problem.
though what your perspective is in terms of what I was saying is, you be your best for you, you're going to be better for your son or your daughter or whoever. That has nothing to do with 80% going to the woman and men being stigmatized.
Okay, if I may explain why I just picked up on that, that's because I've been in so many cases where men are told that they are not good enough,
I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
So don't project. Let's talk about
Okay,
really
but
how it develops.
I'll shut my mouth.
No, anyways, this it's okay. What this is, I completely
case,
agree
I
that it's.
think, sorry, Ambreen.
Sorry, no, it's basically was saying that this, if which I agree to that if we are good to ourselves, only then we will be able to help others. So that is one thing that we need to take care of this, and I think that's again, and it was actually was about my what it was another question that if men or dads ignore their mental health, how it affects their relationship like in the family. What do you think, what could be the consequences of that?
I personally just want to say something what Des said. What he was meaning to say, when your cup is full and overflowing, you can contribute unconditionally in every role that you have, as a parent, as a business owner, as a friend, as a son. That's what I'm understanding. So rather than any other misinterpretation, so I think that goes best spouse, so your cup should be full and overflowing. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you do something every day to fill your cup, basically.
No, I think that's exactly what I was saying, Eldin. And to Hawk, I also agree that we've got some other societal issues that we need to address, from legal and other stigmas. But first, better yourself moving forward.
Absolutely. Yes, Bill was saying something. Yes.
Yeah, I think that the power of this discussion, and I'm glad we're having it, is part of it is recognizing that in people in general, but let's talk about men, is that we walk around with wounds that we don't realize we have. We just learned that we thought that limp was normal. We thought that attitude was normal. We thought that reaction was normal. And a lot of it goes back to even when we're little kids. The idea that if you are weak or vulnerable or you cry or whatever those things are that people look at and go, oh, you're not the tough kid, guess what? You get picked on. And you witness enough of that you start saying, okay, being vulnerable is not a safe thing. but winning is a good thing. So now all of a sudden, this generation, they become parents, and then they're parenting, and then all of a sudden they realize I'm not as good as I thought I was, or they go home and they realize I'm great at work, but I'm really bad at home. I'm really good in the marketplace, but I'm not so good here. And the trouble with that mindset that starts as a child and that deep desire, and I think men have it particularly, we want to win. We want to be winners. We'd like to think we're good at something. That what we see culturally is, and I can only say this here in the States, we love winning. And if you don't think you're going to win, you tend to migrate away from it. You migrate to the places where you win. Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's with another person. But if you're not a winner as a parent, you tend to drift away. And I believe this is contributing. The blindness to our own hurt is robbing kids from having parents that show up faithfully, that show up vulnerably. And both Hawk and Des were saying, is showing up in a way that we do the hard thing, become the best version of ourselves, but we have to know what the best version is and have that understanding first. And if we don't have that, we're just going to continue those patterns.
And I also think to that point, Bill, it's not having, it's having your own expectations. It's not being said, oh, this is what success looks like, and it's somebody else's success. It's like you really truly have to authentically live your own life, don't you? You can't say, oh, well, success for somebody else. I mean, if we all manage success with wealth, we all want to be Elon Musk. He's a great contributor and does what he does, but we can't all be Elons. We've got to get happy with ourselves and not judge ourselves on somebody else's social media, posts.
Yeah.
Be happy, find that happiness inside.
Well, just a step, add a little bit to that. It's the fact that we're surrounded by people that are playing something that has a scorecard, and they're trying to impose their scorecard on you. And secretly, we look at the scorecard and know, gee, you're winning, but I'm not winning. You're winning. And it's that confusion of what game and what values do I really have that is a game changer instead of mimicking what other people are trying to say that you need to be.
And me coming from Norway, come with a totally different background than most of you guys. I remember when I came to Oregon, I loved that it was okay to be good. I loved that it was okay. You could be pushed up in the school system, you got into honors class or advanced, whatever. And even with sports, I was integrated. In my country, it's not okay to be good, to be someone who has, unless it's in sports. Sports is like, that's really cool. But if you're smart, then you are stigmatized. If you get good grades, you are stigmatized. And that is, I really remember the feeling back in 1983 when I came to the States. Wow, this is cool. And that is also, I think that there is some misunderstanding here about what I said, because we have a very communal society, and we are very social democrats, and we have done some things in our systems that have raised women to a not totally different place than where she is in the States and also in Dubai and whatever. So we have created an egalitarian society, but it has happened at the expense of men. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. It's like 80% of our, when you go to school, you meet 80% of who you meet up until high school are women. It's the same in mental health. Most are women, and it's just all around. So we don't get, and I think that's a problem. That when, for instance, me being a child welfare worker who's worked with people who are really, really in crisis, for the men who come into such a system where there are 90% women, they don't get anybody that they resonate with. And that is a problem. It's a huge, huge problem. And I think there's something I try to address it with here in my own country, but it's not something that many people want to talk about.
Okay.
That's a great thing. I think Patrick had a comment too.
I think
Yeah,
Courtney, I'm waiting to hear what Courtney's going to add to this.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, thank you so much. I just wanted to bring more of like a unique perspective of my situation and growing up. I did not have any siblings, and my father raised me as a single parent. So men's mental health is something I'm extremely passionate about because it's a lived experience very closely, and something that I saw it, like in hindsight, was dad was always so strong, never shed a tear in front of me. Was there to put my hair in a ponytail for gymnastics practice. He did everything to the best of his ability. And as I look, years later down the road and reflect back in hindsight, I cannot imagine the emotional suppression that he endured, because we went through extreme hardships, even the recession in 2008. Years after that impacted, we lost our house, but still yet he has to be that so-called, provider, that protector. And from the emotional suppression to even the sacrifice that a single father had to endure. I mean, whether that was career, he went through a multitude of jobs simply to ensure that he was there to provide me transportation from school to gym, getting out of school early. And so that is something that I look from the perspective of a daughter, and why I'm so incredibly passionate about men's mental health, and why it is a topic needs to be elevated and put to the forefront, because I would have not turned out as confident as I am today, as stable, just emotionally and mentally, because my father was always there for me, and he always showed up. And that's something I think that is just a good message overall. And I think Bill had provided this insight too, was the true power of presence. And especially today, when we're all busy, we're all on digital platforms, digital media platforms, but to actually just give that face-to-face, in-person connection. I mean, I look back, Friday nights, Dad and I were playing Nintendo together. That's, of course, back in the day, Mario Kart. But I say this because those were unique moments that stood out. And he did an incredible job. I love you, Dad, and happy Father's Day. We celebrated it yesterday, and to all fathers out there. But I'm so grateful to be able to share this and to uplift men and to uplift fathers out there.
Yeah, I really love that you brought that in, because I feel as a father, the biggest gift that we have is our presence.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes not perfect. If you're a single father, if you're a stepfather, if you're a second father, if you're the biological father, to find a perfect environment. And as Des says as well, there is no manual. But I feel the most important thing is to be present. Whether you live in a culture like in the US where winning is all, I couldn't live like that, because winning means nothing to me. I grew up mainly in Jamaica. I'm a musician at heart. I'm a mystic. So for me, winning never has anything. But yet, when I was in family situations, for me to provide was very important. But winning wasn't. So I think it's important. And I love, Hague, how you're bringing in the Norwegian perspective. Cultures are different, and societies determine the way we show up as men. But I feel in all cultures, I lived in New Zealand, where it's a little bit similar to Hague, what you were saying, because it's also in the direction where women take a primary space in whatever way. I lived in Indonesia, and culturally speaking, I feel the best fathers are the ones who are just present and show up. Children can be forgiving, because children, like Eldin's son, they could say one day, Dad, why don't you just be my dad? And that could be in any circumstance. Of course, it goes back to, if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of anybody else. It's like when you're on the plane, They say put the mask on, put it on yourself first before you help others. And I feel as father, it's the same. I need a certain level of self-care and then to be present. And that fills my cup in a way. Because what Courtney experienced, regardless of all the struggle and whatever happened, she knew Dad will come and pick me up and drop me to my gymnastics. She knew Dad would show up in any case. It wasn't like that he had all on the list the winning points. He had the point, you were first in my life, right? And I feel this is really the importance. Okay, for me, the parenthood was always temporary. I went into children's life and I left again. Not always on my decision, but it was like that. But still during that time, I feel I was more like your dad. I was present. And I didn't pressure myself too much how good I was, because I don't have that cultural thing of having to win. Help me. It's less pressure. I have other pressures, obviously. But I feel that being present allows me today to look back and say, well, there were beautiful times. And I'm grateful that I was able to be present to a child's growing, to a child's experience, to be part of maybe special moments.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know, I think being present, you know, we need to not be afraid to access that too. And also Des brought up something that I think's really important to me, but also interesting, where I think almost a perspective shift could change in society with responsibility, right? With the word responsibility, even because it's kind of looked at like a burden, like a weight, or like a disabling, you know, type of a thing. But when you look at the actual task of responsibility, and when you look at like what should I be responsible for, right? What should I be responsible? Well, I should be responsible for what's important to me, right? And so if raising a kid is important, and when I say fathers too, I mean birth fathers, I mean adopted fathers, I mean fathers that are mentors and neighbors. And some of the greatest fathers in my life haven't been my birth father. They've been all the amazing fathers I've had around me, you know. But what if we took on responsibility as us acquiring something of value, right? Instead of this burden. What if we could change that belief to go, wow, it like the more responsibility I have, the more like value I have access to in my life, because I believe that's the truth. And I believe we've kind of tricked ourselves to believe that these things that we're responsible for in life are a problem or a challenge.
No,
If I'm
Preston,
responsible for a relationship or a thing, you know, around me, that means that, you know, I have like a dominion over that in my life on some level, and that is like can be so much more rewarding if we change our focus on that. So yeah,
I think we could go on for like another 16 years. You know,
Yeah.
from me, you know, to that point, it would be, I look at fatherhood as being the most awesome responsibility and gift in the world I've ever been given.
yeah,
And then everything flows from that. You know, you're going to be the best dad, or you're going to be the best dad for the moment at the time. And then you're also going to be the best for yourself. Because again, it comes back to you, you know, what do you give out to the world? And to Hawk, I think there's another 16 years we could have on, you know, the vilification of boys. And I think, you know, many of us have talked about that. It is a very tragic and serious issue to discuss. It's, you know, we got political parties asking what a man is. And how do we communicate with men? And then we got others who don't want to listen to a man. And then, you know, then we got mansplainers. And so we got a whole level of, you know, discord here that, and, you know, discourse that we need to get through. But the reality is Strongest yourself, strongest for others. Use it as a gift.
Yeah.
Learn from others as well. And like we all said, like Hawk, I mean, I want to be vulnerable. I want my kids to be vulnerable. I want them to reach out as well. We haven't got all the answers, but together, surely we can find better ones than we're all doing it alone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Key point. And I think it separates us. It means that we don't have to do it alone.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That all the things that have led up to the point that might give you a position of inadequacy or self-condemnation or fear or doubt or whatever immediately goes away when you have other people that you just share and say, what can we learn together? How can we grow together? And how can I encourage you? And if we can do that, I think that's a breakthrough.
That's
true. I think it's so how the discourse is spreading so wide, like within New Age community. How often have you heard of toxic masculinity versus how often have you heard about toxic femininity?
Good point.
It's really, it's something we talk a lot about. And of course, I've seen a lot of toxic masculinity, but having worked in a field where there are like 80-90% women, I've also seen that side. And I'm not trying to put down women. I love women, and even though I'm a monk and so I'm celibate. But that's my favorite creature is women, the female energy. It's really, I love it. But at the same time, when it turns sour and you get all the
that's another that's another debate that we can go through. So I think
it's already
well, so I think Paul needs to was trying to say something.
I was going to say two things. I'll share a link to you, and it was a wellness study from 2023, and then the NIH did one in 2022 that correlates. So men know that in talking to their kids about mental health is important. And then when they go, they know that they themselves have to do it. So it's a high 74%. But then when it drops down to 35% of where they go to get that support, they do not have it. So they know it's important for their kids. They know they have to work on themselves, but then they don't have the ability to find a safe place. And then the NIH report was, if you say men are not talking about it, they are. What they're doing is they need to go and have a place where they have it recognized. Since they release that negative energy per se somewhere else, then the same way to reach them is not the same way you would have, say, for women. So if they're letting it out a certain way, you need to create a path towards them that's safe. And then you can correlate. They know it's important. They want to help. Now they have a place to go in and have the tools to do it. And there's more research that needs to be done to support what's different and attracting them to speak. But they are doing it, so to speak. So I'll send you both of those so you can share back out.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point that, whatever like the men are feeling is they need to have a safe place where they can actually let out all those emotions. I think that the way we had a very wonderful discussion, all of you shared a wonderful, lots of wonderful advices and insights. I know, as Des said, we can actually talk about it for 16 years or maybe even more, and we go on and on about this because this topic is, first of all, not talked about, and then there is so much to talk about. So I think we need to keep these kind of sessions more so people can even talk about it and we can normalize talking about it. So before we actually close this show, I would like to actually take advice from each of you. Like, what one piece of advice would you like to give to our audience to enjoy fatherhood without having that pressure or without unnecessary struggles or without having those silent struggles? So who's going to go first?
I answer the question twofold. First, if you're a guy, reach out to your male friends, send a text message, preferably send a voice note. Hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you? Truly, how are you doing? Not like I'm fine, like I'm here for you. You know, if you send like 3 voice notes every day for the next 7 days, you reached out to so many male friends, to 20, 30 male friends you've reached out. And also you yourself should find confidant. If you don't have a coach, mentor, reach out to a friend and say, listen, there are certain things that are weighing heavy on my chest, and I'd like to share how I am feeling. You know, find that. Or if you don't have a friend, go find a community and connect to these like-minded people. And as a father, my advice to everybody out there is that, as Des was saying, you know, ask your children, what role do you want me to show up as? Do you want my advice? Do you want a cuddle? Do you want a good listener? What do you need so I can satisfy that need, rather than assume that every time a child comes to you, you need to coach them, you need to advise them. So be there, and also give them undivided attention, without the phone, without any devices, without the TV.
Yes, absolutely wonderful.
If I may, I'm working on this book, and it has a chapter called Parenting. And one crucial area where greed and exploitation must be countered is in how we raise our children. We all have a responsibility in the world, and there are so many causes, so many things to fight for and against. But, and this is a big but, there's but one prime directive. One cause that supersedes all our previous directives about conquer nature, conquer the planet, understand life, God, and science. Khalil Gibran said it beautifully in his talk about children. We don't own their bodies, we don't own their minds, we don't own their souls. So what I conclude with is, this is your task on Earth. With every tool in your toolbox, every cell in your brain box, every breath in your being, become the best parent ever. And you need to educate yourself. But let me give you a hint. You are already there. You just don't know it yet. We all must fight the good fight. And fighting for peace may seem counterintuitive, but it's the only fight worth winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So who's going to go next? Des.
I think, you know, the mindset for me would be, look at parenting as the best gift you will ever receive, knowing that you haven't got all the answers, but with love and unconditional being there, great things can happen. And that's what I think is the best advice that I give myself and others.
Awesome. That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much. Who's going to go next?
I would say caring for yourself is also an extension of that love that you have for your children. So that's not something that would be wise to isolate, despite however you're feeling. See it as that extension that you, what Des mentioned earlier, are caring for yourself to overflow as an extension to your offspring and family.
Yes, awesome advice. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes. So, Kevin, would you like to? Oh, sorry. Okay.
Rather than an advice, I would like to extend an invitation to all fathers in whatever form and shape and relation it comes. I would like to invite all fathers to be present to self, their uniqueness, and all the children that are around them, so that we all can learn to express who we truly are without limitations and fears.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Yes. Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, I would just share, just simply strive to be the best version of yourself you can be. Be the best dad, be the best son, be the best brother, be the best friend or colleague. Give what you got, and but also reach out to others and be the support that they need. There's many people out there that are seeking help or need help. People you don't often realize are fighting battles we never know that they're facing. So just reaching out to them to be their rock but also, just letting others be the rock to you. And if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out for it. It's a strength. But again, focus on what you can control and just try to be the best you can. We all have shortcomings. We're all going to have our moments, but it's in the effort that matters. And just try to set that example and lead by example the best you can.
Yes, that's wonderful. I think Bill, have you shared the or
No, I'll share. I'll try to share briefly. One of my after my death experience, I became abundantly aware of love.
Mhm.
Really, what love is, not the thing you throw on a pillow or a bumper sticker or whatever, and why love is so powerful is it can only be expressed in relationship. And I'll just say that as a dad growing up, there were seasons when I was an absentee father and husband. I traveled, I was on the road, I was doing all that stuff to win. But I wasn't winning at home because deep down I didn't think I could win as well at home as I did on the road.
Mm.
Now I have adult kids. And I remember my son pulling me aside and said, Dad, I love you. But you need to know that you weren't present for us. You always had another show. You had another project. You had another thing that you were working on. And even when you sat right across the room, I knew you didn't really hear us. And needless to say, it broke my heart. Because it so violates the very essence of this powerful relationship we can have with our kids and with each other to love. And so if I look back and say, what's my lesson, what I learned, and what I try for every day, it's what's been said many times: be present.
Yep.
Let the people in your life know that you love them, and you show up by looking in their eyes, hearing their hearts, and knowing that you're flawed and imperfect. But people will give you grace when they know they're loved.
Absolutely. What a wonderful advice. Thank you so much. Yes, Courtney.
I have to second that one on Bill. It really is. I think from the perspective that I've taken in this session, from myself being the daughter to the father, should I say, one thing that I have taken forward was just that idea that Dad was present, that he was always there for me. It wasn't about the expensive vacations, the expensive cars, but Dad was there. I mentioned it before, but I laugh because I gave him a hard time then, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel so bad. But when I was 6, 7 years old, Dad was putting my hair in a ponytail and it was always crooked. But guess what? I was in gymnastics. I was practicing with my friends. And it really is, it's about the big picture that, taking the pressure off of the dads. Like I said, it's just about being present, giving it your best shot. And years later, I promise you, because I'm experiencing it as the years go on, but I always thank Dad, whether it's a text message, a simple text message, not just on Father's Day, not just on holidays, but if you can, be present, like go to, dinner, go to breakfast. But if not, shooting those like small text messages, I think it's about appreciating one another. And that we all, like somebody had just said, and I apologize, I can't remember, but just this idea that we're all going to have those shortcomings, that we're going to fall short sometimes. But at the end of the day, we all know we're giving our best shot, and for that to be acknowledged. So just simply be present.
Yes, wonderful advice. I'm going to share it later I think after Preston. Yes.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. There's so many great things have been shared. The one thing I want to add in as advice is to take this idea of a role of fatherhood, or if you're a woman, motherhood or leadership or patriarchy and matriarchy, this thing, take this as this responsibility as a tool to build yourself. Because what I've learned so much in my life is it's the things I've done for others that have built me. It's kind of that idea that the lesson is for the teacher. And I've been the teacher so many times where I've learned so much more than the classroom, right? And so use this opportunity not as a challenge, but as a thing to recognize how amazing your life is, what you have learned, celebrate you and the person that you are, and use it to build yourself up and show up as a father in any role that you can. I know I have donated time to youth communities. Now it's been for over 15 years. And so youth groups, mainly in boys, younger boys from 10 to 18. And, I've done that for over 15 years now. And so it's just one of the ways that I've been able to show up as a father, not only for my own 2 sons and my daughter, but for just in that role, right? To go, okay, how do we create the change that we spoke about today? How do we create that in the world? And I think the way is to go be it.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Ambreen, do you want to add?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was such a wonderful discussion. And just at the end, I would just piggyback what Courtney said. Actually, the father and daughter relationship is such a beautiful relationship that I could actually recall that, yes, my dad was always there for me. But still, when we had that kind of like setbacks and that financial struggles, there was kind of a struggle, and it created a bit of distance, but I could feel what he was going through, what he was doing, what he was facing that through. So I think as daughters, or as a family member, we need to also feel what they've been going through and acknowledge them. It's like just sharing that, what they've been going through, being there for them is also very, very important, because when they are there for us, we shouldn't take it for granted, because to be honest, that like daughter and father relationship is such a beautiful relation. I can so much relate to what Courtney was saying. So anyways, thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your experiences, your advice, your insight. It was such an eye-opening discussion. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience must have learned a lot. So thank you so much. And those who are actually listening and those who want to get in touch with all of our panel members, they can get in touch with them. I have shared the link of their profiles, of their work in the comments. And they're very active on LinkedIn, so they can please get in touch with them by DM or sharing a message with them. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye.